Hey everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Ani-Mech. It's been quite a while since the last episode, and that's mostly because I've been trying to get these commissions sorted out, and also I'm sure you've seen I've been in contact with some companies and did some review videos. The only reason I was able to make those videos was because of you guys. And before the video gets started, I just wanted to say thank you for watching my videos and for supporting me. And with that, let's get into the build. The theme for this episode of Ani-Mech is Sumikko Gurashi, and more specifically, the polar bear. The keyboard that we'll be using today is the Idobao ID80. For this build, the client wanted something on the smaller side, but wasn't willing to give up the function row, so this was a really great fit for their needs. Because we'll be painting it anyways, the color didn't really matter, so I just picked up the white. Originally they went with the novelty Sherbert Switches. These are a clicky switch and they're pretty loud. So after a while the client decided they didn't want a clicky switch anymore and they wanted to try out tactiles. The only tactile switch that I had on hand were the Akko Lavender purples, so that's what we decided to go with for the build. This is the hot swap PCB, which should make building this keyboard a little bit easier because I don't have to solder anything. And it's also great to future-proof your keyboard in case you want new switches in the future. What's great about this keyboard is that it's VIA compatible, so you can easily switch out the key bindings and the RGB lighting. One thing that's extra great about this keyboard is that it comes with foam pre-installed. This foam goes in between the plate and the PCB, which really helps make the keyboard sound a lot fuller. For the keycaps, I'll be using the pink keycap set that Tai-Hao sent me as the base set, and because I didn't quite think that the modifier keys would fit the color scheme that I was going for, I'm going to be repainting them. First off, let's talk about the design. So to start out, the client sent me some source material to gain some inspiration from. Here are some of the peripherals that they wanted the keyboard to match with. And from what they sent me, it's pretty clear that they wanted it to be pink. Here are some of the images that I pulled that I thought about using for this keyboard. So to match the overall aesthetic, it was pretty clear that the design had to be on the simpler side. So to start out, I just did some very basic designs, and the finalized design for the backplate is the last one. To put around the keyboard, again, I just needed some simple graphics to add some flavor to it. And lastly, I needed to pick out a color for the keycaps that I was going to be painting. This is a nice lilac color that I thought would go well with the pink. And that's about it for the design. So now we can get to customizing. To actually get the design on the backplate, I'll be using some water slide decals again. These water slide decals are not the transparent ones, these have a solid white background. First things first is to cut them out so that they fit the backplate. And once the design is all cut out, all we have to do is get it wet and apply it to the surface. All it's left to do is to make sure that the backplate is well protected, and to do that I'm just going to hit it with a light top coat of clear matte finish. Before the keycaps can be painted, I first have to apply a primer to them. Sanding the keycaps with a low grit sandpaper will roughen the texture and allow the primer to stick to the keycap more easily. And once the primer's had enough time to dry, the keycaps are ready to be painted. To reapply the graphics onto the keys, I'll be using transparent waterslide decals. Before working on the case, it's important to tape off parts that you don't want to get any paint on. Remember that paint adds thickness, so it's important to add tape to the plate, so you don't end up in a situation where your switches don't fit. Before final assembly, let's take a look at all our custom pieces. So to start out, we have our custom backplate. I really like how this turned out. There is one seam line going down it that I couldn't get rid of. I do think I could have done a better job if I did it again, but at this point, it wasn't really worth it to do it over. My custom keycaps turned out really well. The lilac color looks great, and I think they'll work well with the rest of the build. And finally, we have our case. I added my little graphics around the case, and I think it really ties the whole thing together. Let's just start out by removing all the tape. And here we can see why the tape was so important to protect that plate. And with all these pieces ready, it's time for final assembly. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Sorry for taking so long between videos this time. I'm trying to make videos as fast as I can, but I am new to this kind of stuff, and it's gonna take time before I become really efficient with it. But I hope it was worth the wait. If you haven't already, make sure you get subscribed. I have a ton of projects already lined up, so make sure you stay tuned for those. Other than that, that's about it for me. As always, big shout out to my Patreon because you guys are awesome, and I'll see everyone back here for the next video.